Oh my goodness, if I look sweaty or tan, it's because I just got done training. I'm also in Mexico right now, and hopefully there's not like too much bad echo. I'm in an office here, I'll show you. I'm in I have this stand here, got my notes for the lecture, and it's an office for a nutritionist, so you can see there's like a scale over there. And this is where they do the analyses of how much body fat and how much you weigh and all that. I'm in Mexico right now, so I know I haven't filmed in a minute, and there's a lot of people upstairs. It's an upstairs gym, and so right now I'm just in the downstairs office, but if they open the door, if they come close, then I might have to whisper, but hopefully my voice doesn't echo too badly. Oh my god, dude, it's been quite a ride. So today is Thursday, and I had my first fight on Sunday in Argentina. And it's interesting because right now we're doing disseminating the 33 strategies of war, which, so you don't think I'm trolling, I have the book. So right now we're on strategy number 4, obviously, because I'm disseminating it, but we're doing it in real time as I'm learning and training martial arts around the world. So, oh my god, I had cake and then pre-workout, and then I had little sleep because a mosquito was attacking me, and I had stimulants the day before with like an illegal substance in there, so we're a little wired, we're a little oversleep deprived, but all of this energy I'm transmuting like a pure alchemist into this lecture, so everybody wins. But hopefully my heart rate goes down and doesn't stay super elevated. I was gonna actually take a break and rest and calm down, but I kind of did that in the transcription of my notes prior to making this video, but I'm like, camera's on, we're gonna do this one take, and I'm excited. But yeah, I'm doing it in real time, man. When I took my flight, it was already booked, from Europe to Brazil, that was the first day where I stepped into the arena, my first day in a martial arts gym, and that was honestly the worst, and I've documented the whole thing. It's in the garden on escapethroughoutlife.com. Thank you guys for checking that out. But I've documented it all in private, like the highs, the lows, and when you first start, it's all lows because you have no idea what you're doing, and there's those growing pains, like you're getting calluses on your fucking feet, blisters that tear open, you're getting bullied by all these dickheads who I've learned true strength is in the sheathing of your capacity. It's not in the exuding of it. It's not, let me show you how big and bad I am. Those are pussies, those are cowards, those are bullies at the end of the day. And it's interesting how I've experienced them from Brazil to Argentina to not so much in Mexico yet, but it's because I haven't signed up for the martial arts gym yet. I'm gonna go, I think, today to check it out. And I could share with you, it's so cool. I saw a quote, and I'm gonna tie it all into getting into this law of it, or the strategy of war, but I think it's just really important to share all of the insight. There's no gatekeeping. And so any truth that I find and I discover, I want to share, and I want to be open about it on my path, on my journey. And came across a post on Instagram that said, connect the dots. Like, always see how one circumstance, condition, event is blending into the other. Acknowledge and be aware, recognize the flow of your life. And it's fascinating because had I not gone to Barbosa, the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and martial arts gym in Brazil, then I wouldn't have been able to connect it when I went to the Picante Fight Club when I was in Argentina. My Muay Thai master in Brazil, his master fought against the owner of that chain of PFC, Familia, the martial arts gym chain in Argentina. And I learned that after the fact. It wasn't like, oh, they gave me this information and then I went on my journey. And a lot of times I go back and forth, especially this past few weeks, excuse me, with how stressed I've been and living in a state of just sheer unknown, complete uncertainty, continuing to be fired, I don't know what you would say, in God's furnace, continuing to be under the fire of God's furnace and being in that refinery. It's the good story of how you refine silver or gold. They're watching very attentively. God is the personification of it, to make sure all of the embellishments and all of the impurities and everything goes away to get it to its purest form, right? That's the process of unbecoming. If you think of the alchemist, the author, Paulo Coelho, he says, maybe the journey isn't so much about becoming anything, but it's about unbecoming everything that isn't us. And that's the whole goal of us getting to that Christ-like image at the end of the video game, is that spiritual ascension. It's just us getting back to who we were when we were a child, before programming, before projection, before limiting beliefs, before insecurities, before all of the bullshit, right? And it's fascinating how it's all connected. The quote from Marcus Aurelius in Meditations could not be more evidently true, as in any circumstance, condition, event, happens chance that you go through within your life, no matter how seemingly insignificant, is perfectly divinely orchestrated as part of your highest good, your highest nature's design. It's all happening for you. It's a necessity. It's a required assignment. Okay. And so it's fascinating how in hindsight, when I learned this new information, it gives me such a peace that I'm in pure alignment with God's path. As in, I would go back and forth these past few weeks of how stressed I've been. Like, I don't know, because I'm lost. I feel lost in the forest. Lost in the forest. And there's a beautiful poem. It's in the garden, but I'll give you the inside scoop, where he says, a boy asks an elder, it's poetry, he says, what do I do when I'm lost in the forest? What do I do when I'm lost in the forest? And the elder says, stand still. What do I do when I'm lost in the forest? Stand still. He said, the trees ahead and bushes beside you are not lost. Stand still. And the poem ends with, what do I do when I'm lost? Stand still. You must let it find you. And I even got like a little chill as I said that, but it's completely true. Meaning, not only was there a connection between Brazil, required assignment to go there, and how that would connect to Argentina, and then now in Mexico, God put it on the heart of my now host, Ricardo, to be here for a time. And it comes full circle because I invited Ricardo, who I'm staying with right now, he's hosting me here in Cuernavaca in Mexico. It's about an hour and a half south, I think, of Mexico City. And I hosted him for 6 months without thinking of reciprocity of, aside from like his affiliation with Rat Life, but not how what I can get. I didn't have an ulterior motive of what I can get from him monetarily or all this, or even down the road. Oh, this means you owe me stay in your country. None of that. I had never even planned to go to Mexico on this trip. But he reached out to me from a reel that I posted saying God put it on his heart and his spirit to invite me. And I'm walking in complete obedience to God's divine plan, the divine orchestration, flow, the path of least resistance. And the connection is the gym that we're going to be going to today to check out, to sign up for starting on Monday. I'll be training Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai, and I think MMA, which is, from my experience in Argentina, it's like a combination of wrestling with striking. But there was a heavy emphasis on the grappling portion, because once you do the takedown, like single leg or double leg, and you get into the floor, then you can utilize your jiu-jitsu and ground and pound. Like you can, punch them. It's not just wrestling, where you can actually incorporate some strikes. But the owner of the gym of where I'm going to be going to, I believe today, and then where I'm going to be training at during my totality of the remainder of my stay here in Mexico. He trained at the gym that God has assigned me to when I return to California. It's called King's MMA Anaheim. And God put his signature as that's the gym that I need to go to. I was in Brazil, and I found a reel from that gym. I was like, what the hell is the odds of that? But also, there's a class there every Thursday, Bible study. What the fuck is Bible study, a class like that, doing in a martial arts gym on their schedule for training? And it literally had God's signature written all over it. King's MMA Anaheim, in Anaheim, California. And I'm in Cuernavaca, a city in Mexico, about to go to a gym whose owner trained at that gym. So when I say it's all connected, it's all woven together. It's already written. In the Alchemist, they call that maktub, M-A-K-T-U-B, maktub. It's written. It's already written. So basically, when you're in harmony with God, and this is why it's so important to be obedient, I personify God as my highest self, as in it's me. It's me who's completed the video game, leaving me breadcrumbs on where to go. And that's the path of least resistance, that's complete flow. And then you can see how every rejection was happening for you. It was to put you into alignment of your highest path, you know? And my God, it is a walk. It's an agonizing walk because of the refinery process. It's also the walk of complete humility, because you're constantly going into the unknown. You're constantly going into new, and because of that, you're a novice. I'm a novice. When I'm going into a new martial arts gym, when I'm going into a new country that I don't speak the language, it's a constant, daily, humbling experience. And the beauty about the whole thing is knowing you're on the path. Knowing you're on the path of freedom. Because I had a conversation today that when you go beyond all of the bullshit, that's what we're all seeking. At the end of the day, all of the semantics, all of the material, all of the garbage, it's a fucking distraction. It's a nuisance. It's complete garbage. At the end of the day, every single person, including anyone watching this, your sole goal, when you're actually honest with yourself, is to be free. That's what our souls yearn for, is to get back to our divine state, harmony in our purest form, which is free. Free. To let go of the insecurities, to let go of the past, to let go of the trauma, to let go of all of the fear and all the pain and all the abuse, all of the bullshit that's not us. And all we're trying to do is get to freedom. And in the modern world, it's slavery of the mind. It's slavery of debt. It's slavery of our spiritual ascension by keeping us in these low vibrations of shame, bitterness, anger, spite, all of this bullshit, so that we forget perpetually, distracted, perpetually obedient, docile, living in a state of being led by fear. And that's the game. The game is that cognizance, that awareness, that consciousness. And that's ascension. That's the path of ascension. That's the path of truth. And as long as we walk that path, I swear to God, freedom is on the other side. The only way out is through. Do you understand? The only way out of the rat life is through. Freedom is waiting for all of us. And so that, I meditate on today. I said, dude, you're not behind. You're not behind. Despite this debt, despite your circumstances in life, despite your relationships, that's whatever, you are not behind. And I put in my notes on my phone, I said, you are exactly where God wants you to be. Based on all of that evidence, based on how it's all connected. It's literally a divine plan. It's an orchestration. I shared it with a group yesterday. I said, my view of life is, it's an orchestration for one. Every fucking detail. The siblings that you chose, the job that you had already written into the plan of your enlightenment, of your remembering, of your awakening. It was all premeditated. It was all planned. It was all scripted. Every person that you come across on any given day, it's resonance. It's somebody mirroring back to you something to serve you, to benefit you, to unlock your next level. A pattern to recognize that you see through someone else, you know? And it's insane if you have that consciousness and that awareness that every single detail within this reality is a gift for you. Okay, so that's where we're at. And I'm going to share my experience from my first fight. I got a tie. So I wasn't claimed victor, but I didn't lose. You know, it's okay. So here we go. You guys ready? You enjoying the show? Very tan, because they had an event here the other day, the launch of the gym here called The Garden. And I just want to say this. I'm not taking credit for the creation of where I'm staying right now, but there's a good quote. Life is about planting trees under whose shade you will never sit. In my first week here, I was very, very sick because the fight gave me an incredible migraine. You get fight or flight, cortisol, adrenaline, whatever, during the fight, and so you don't really feel getting hit super fucking hard in the head. But after the fact, a horrid migraine, and then I had barely any sleep, and then there was a 20-hour travel day to go from Argentina to Colombia to Mexico. You know, some genius wizard, handsome guy booked a 7 a.m. flight, which sounds great logistically, but the reality of it is a fucking nightmare, because you have to wake up at 3, check out the hostel at 3:30 to make sure you're at the airport by 4, get through customs by 5, get to your gate by 6, whatever, when they start boarding. But fuck, I lost my train of thought a little bit. I was talking about the recollection of the week and the cognizance that I have when I remember I was standing up there and I was reminiscing about the place that I was in. His gym is called The Garden, and he might watch this video, so I'm not taking any credit, but there's a beautiful quote, life is about planting trees under whose shade you will never sit. And we never know the ripple effect that we have on other people that enter our lives. And so when I was hosting Ricardo and I was talking to him about just everything from, I remember we were driving, he was my passenger, and I was just with such passion in my voice, I said, dude, imagine your person. Imagine your best friend, like someone who you can do the whole experience of life with. Like imagine that level of love, that divine connection, that divine love and presence and happiness and giddiness and childlike spirit and joy. I said, that's worth 1,000 fucking randoms, 1,000 of these casual, all of this. And I was speaking indirectly as I was speaking to him, just as food for thought, food for consideration, because it was the path that I was on, of just being, there's a good quote that was very humbling to me when I was younger, and it says, are my actions consistent with what I say I want? And I was just sharing that with him, those ideas, those ideologies, those virtues of pursuing the path to be your most godlike self, to in turn not necessarily just be worthy of, but you attract what you are. So to come into alignment, into harmonious union with your mirrored reflection, somebody who shares those same qualities and virtues and ideologies. But between he was smoking weed every day at the fucking time, and I had that candid conversation with him, dude, what the fuck are you doing, like that? And then the whole idea of the garden, which is what I called my garden, that was I fucking coined that term. But I gave him space to think. As in, when you're working in the rat life and you're consumed with tasks, menial tasks and all this bullshit, and you're under these LED lights and you're commuting to work and you fucking hate your life and you're depressed and you're anxious and all this garbage, you don't have the space to think because you're in survival mode. You don't have the energy to innovate and to create. And so the gift that I gave him was 6 months of space to think. And in that time, he visualized and rehearsed and vision board and wrote everything that became the garden of this gym that I am now walking in and training in and being a part of. And I literally reflect on it just because one of the recent breakthroughs that I had was how hard it's been for me to accept help, how hard it's been for me to accept love from the world. And I looked at all of the beauty of the gym and I said, look at all of this, sweetheart. And I don't take any credit for the creation of it. I said, but of the quote that I exalted, life is about planting trees under whose shade you will never sit. I said, look how beautiful this garden is, from perhaps a seed that I had planted, or a few, And I said, imagine all of the love that you've given for so many years, for so long, that you felt so unworthy of, or not enough for, whatever, to receive on your end. I said, imagine the beauty that could possibly be waiting for you this year. I said, how beautiful and bountiful of that garden. I said, and it was so beautiful to reflect on because of that quote, life is about planting trees under shade you'll never sit. And then the opportunity that I get to see, one of the seeds now, so that had become a tree and that had bore this fruit. I said, I don't even consider all of the seeds that I've planted because it's part of my character to operate in the state of unconditional love, to give love wherever I can, to uplift people. When I would call me crazy when I was a fucking child, that's what the tenets that I was taught, the golden rule, treat others as you would like to be treated. If you don't have something nice to say, don't say anything at all. And so I would just do that for all of my upbringing, all of my childhood. And what's fascinating is at time's end, all people have to compare their life towards are all of the past connections and relationships. And, because people, they don't really harbor, and I can speak for myself, included in this category, typical cognizance or presence of the golden person that they might have before them in the chaos and the madness of life. And in those quiet reflections, I've thought about who were the most beautiful and the most positive and the most uplifting and who were the brightest lights on my path and on my journey, who were holding the lantern for me, there's a good quote, don't forget those who came in with a light, like when you were in the dark, something like that. And I've had those angels within my life, but then it's also changing the identity and the image of how many people have you been that angel for? How many people have you held the lantern of, to keep going for. When I reiterate my mantra, we're all going to make it, how many people at their lowest have thought of you to have the courage and the strength and the perseverance and the will and the heart to try one more time, to go one more day, to take one more step, So partially it's a little pat on my back, but it's also fascinating to consider the ripple effect that we really have in the world, on life. You guys ready? Strategy number 4, 20 minutes in. Is that a good enough intro for you? Create a space of urgency, a sense of urgency and desperation, the death ground strategy. Okay. I learned this and then I'll talk about my fight later. I learned this when I first quit my job, when I resigned from working in the school district the first time, when I really began and committed to the narrow path. It was January 15th, 2021. That's when I went all in. Quit my job, cashed out it's called CalPERS, the 401k retirement thing that school districts offer in Southern California. I cashed it out, quit my job, had all my savings, lived in my car for like 7 weeks because my lease had ended on my apartment that I was sharing with my brother. And then I was like, it's more expensive to fucking be homeless in California. I'm gonna book a one-way flight to Europe. So I sold my car, booked the one-way flight, and then would end up traveling for 6 months throughout Europe. And then it took me fucking 3 months to crawl back to California. 4 weeks in Illinois with my sister in a shared hotel room, and then 8 weeks on like a blow-up mattress / on her floor within Kentucky, and then it was 5 weeks on my brother's floor in Newport Beach because we were waiting for his lease to end. And then I would go into an apartment. It was a 2-bedroom, but there was 3 of us, and I lived in a just larger than a Harry Potter closet for 13 months, and that was my hell of coming back after having escaped from the rat life. But the sense of urgency and desperation was when I was that entrepreneur, when I was doing rat life full time, and I found out you become literally what they talk about in The Alchemist, where he's observing the sheep, and he's just like, look at all these sheep, they're so generous, they'll give me everything that I want, their milk, their wool, and if I asked for it, they give me their meat. And for what? The fucking breadcrumbs, right? And that's the personification, I think is the word, of the rat life. As in, people are so willing to give 40 fucking years of their life for the bare minimum, for money that is taxed and taxed and taxed and taxed that you don't see. And then the retirement money that if it's not in a Roth, is going to be taxed again when you go and cash it out. And so you're working for pieces of fucking paper that are made up, that can be printed an infinite number of through the Federal Reserve. And you're sacrificing the most precious asset you have in this life, which is your time, which is your energy, your most potent divine resource. And people are so willing to do that out of being led by fear. Because if you ever quit your job, if you ever started your own business, and we'll talk about this in this law, if you ever put yourself on death ground, backed yourself into a corner, do or die, sink or swim, burn the boats, you would discover how fucking resourceful you're a different animal when necessity demands it. As in, I remember when I was like, okay, I don't know where I'm gonna get my next meal. I don't know how I'm gonna pay rent. I was on the line every day of those 13 months. And I discovered I got very creative for selling pre-workout, for closing clients, for personal training or online coaching, for coming out with a fucking t-shirt, whatever. I was like, I need income, I need earning. Anybody who's a parent who has never made more, and then somebody gets sick, or you have a child, somehow you find a way, don't you, to provide, to generate the, energy to acquire such resources. It's because of the urgency that you have, necessity now that it's the same potential that you've always had, but there's a fire lit underneath you. It's like, no, I have to do this. The rhetoric, the dialogue, the narrative changes. It's not, oh, I could do this. No, it's I have to. And it's interesting because it's tied in with your identity. People will do anything to be consistent with their identity. If you say, I have to do something, I, Tarek Hawks, have to provide, have to, earn this much, you'll discover that, you'll realize that. You know what I'm saying? But that's something that is the biggest crime within the indoctrination trap of the rat life, the unknown 18-year-old going to school in the Western world. Most predominantly in the United States, where the student loans happen. And you get swindled so fucking hard. And this isn't me being a victim of this. I'm telling you the reality of the average 18-year-old who goes to college to get a useless fucking degree, particularly today, that AI will make redundant, to do what? To get no job out of graduation because of the saturation of the market, the worthlessness of their degree, to go live at home with thousands of tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of student loan debt. Then they finally do get their job. And then what do you need for your job? You need a car. So then you don't buy it, you finance it. And so now you have car financing, the note, and then car insurance that's required by law, and then gas that you have to pay for it, and then a tax for a car registration fee on top of the student loans that are accruing interest. Okay, and then when you see that your income doesn't cover just the cost of living, just the cost to not die, you have credit cards that you then exhaust and that you pay the minimum payments towards to stay afloat. Excuse me. And then you see, wow, none of the money that I'm putting into this is going to principal, it's all going to interest, and so I can never pay these balances down. And so you're just like, okay, so I have that as well. And then you're working the rat life, and then you see that there's no gap, there's no margin, because the cost of living is going up because the inflation, they're printing more money. And so your dollar is worth less. And so even though you get the raise on paper that, oh yeah, I'm making more money, if you actually see and break it down of how far your money is going, the amount of groceries you're able to buy with the same amount of money, you're just like, wait, for $100, I used to be able to have my groceries for a month. Now that lasts me a week or less. And you're just like, huh. And then you start to suffocate, you start to drown, and then you're like, okay, I need to breathe. And then how do people, what's the nail in the fucking coffin for breathing? A mortgage. A mortgage. Oh, that's the American dream, right? No. Fuck no. That's 500,000 or more of debt. That's eternal fucking slavery. And I'm not saying that to playing the real estate game and to make these margins and to flip houses. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the average fucking person who brings their rent down from $2,500 Southern California for a one-bedroom apartment down to, let's say, $1,500 on a 30-year fucking mortgage. Oh, now I have $1,000 breathing room. But what's the psychology of people? They can spend as much as they earn. They'll always spend as much as they earn, because I've learned on this trip, it is a skill to spend so much less than your overhead expenses and your income. It is a skill that I did not have when I was younger. And so that is the ultimate nail in the coffin, because now what do you have? Let's fucking recap. You have student loan debt, the 18-year-old gets. They graduate 21, 22, nice, all these lovely student loans, okay. Then you have your car note, car insurance, gas, car registration, a made up fucking tax to be able to drive on a street to work, okay. Then you have your credit card interest, where the fucking interest rates are over 20%. It's pure criminal financial rape is what it is, okay. Then you have the mortgage that people get, but it's not just a mortgage, because you also have to pay homeowners insurance. Then you have to pay PMI. If you don't have a fucking 20% down payment, then you have to pay property tax and all that. That's not including SoCal Edison, which is your electricity. That's not including fucking trash, water, sewage, air conditioning, internet, a gym membership, a phone bill, food. That's before any of that. Clothes. And what are you? You are a slave for fucking life. And so what's the name of the game? Freedom. That's what all of this is for. Everyone is yearning to be free. And in the modern world, slavery never went away. Slavery never went away. Back in time, you're my slave. Awesome, no problem. I'm gonna give you free medicine, free food, free accommodation, and free mates, other slaves, okay? And then you just work for free. Now, I'm gonna pay you less than is required to fucking live and make you pay for everything. So I'm gonna give you my made up pieces of paper that I can print infinite number of. And then I'm gonna make you pay for your medicine and for your mates and for your food and for your accommodation that I own. They own the accommodation that you're fucking renting from. So, did slavery even fucking go away? Do you know what I'm saying? I get heated because I'm very passionate about freedom, about escaping the rat life, about spiritual ascension, about everything that is keeping people so trapped, right? So, creating a sense of urgency and desperation, the death ground strategy. If you put yourself into a fucking corner and it's do or die, you will find so much fire, so much creativity, so much hunger, because necessity demands it. Quote from Tony Robbins: people, when it comes to dying or succeeding, tend to succeed. But the problem is we give ourselves a way out. Here we go. Place yourself on death ground where your back is against the wall and you have to fight like hell to get out alive. Story of Cortez. The root of the problem was in the back of their minds. There was always an escape route. If this conquest business went badly, they could go home. The ships in the harbor represented Cuba, the freedom to leave, the ability to send for reinforcements. So many possibilities. Okay. It's completely true. If you are constantly thinking, oh, I have a net, I've got a safety net, I've got a plan B, I've got this money, I've got this parent that I could lean on, you're not operating in urgency, in hunger, in necessity. I'm not saying that is your divine path. I'm not saying the path of most resistance, which is entrepreneurship, especially at the start, is the way to go. But what I'm saying is you're a different person when you have to pull it off. Not when, oh, I could, I should. No. I have to. And the way that you can make that exacerbated even more is when you have to for somebody else. Because you'll fucking sleep in when it's just you. That's why there's a quote from Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. A man with a strong enough why can bear nearly any how. Survivor of 4 concentration camps during World War II. That is the epitome of what we're talking about. You can endure anyhow. The fucking means is nothing. Quote from Arnold. People always ask me why I was smiling. You're working out for 5 hours a day. Everyone else looks nasty, sour faces. He said, because every weight that I lifted, every rep, every set, I knew that I was getting one step closer from turning that vision into reality. It was a means to an end. He wasn't buried in the trees that he couldn't see the forest. Does that make sense? So that's the whole idea. Is the root of the problem was in the back of their mind that they had a way out. A way out. Oh, it's okay. And people have these fucking stories that are, it's the biggest crime when somebody says, you know what, I really didn't want to be free. Fuck yourself. Quote from the 10X Rule, Grant Cardone. That when somebody says they don't want this level of achievement, what they're saying is, no, I don't want to do the work required for this. It's all a bullshit story that they have to tell themselves and sell to you. And the greatest gift you can give people is acting as a mirror where you don't even say anything and you allow them to sit with the fucking lies of their serpent tongue. And I find that that's how you can really cut them the fucking deepest, is when they have to confront their own bullshit story that they're just kidding themselves, because at the end of the day, they're being led by fear. Because what their heart truly wants is what we all really want. Freedom, euphoria, ecstasy, fulfillment, unconditional love. Everybody wants the same shit, but we settle for these fucking breadcrumbs. Do you know what I'm saying? Because we don't want to do the work. What is the work? The inner work. I have a journal entry on my phone. I deleted the notes app. Because there was like a fucking virus or some shit on my journal on my phone, and I said, look at all the weight that you've been carrying in my hero's journey, right? Which is just the path of truth. When you commit and go all in, you're committing to your walk with God. And it's interesting because you find God on that path because of the beautiful energetic spectrum. As in, it's so beautiful. The way that I love to visualize God, Christ, is the whole journey is what I learned from Daryl, the entity that Daryl, who channels the entity Bashar. And he said, what Christ preached wasn't for a religion, wasn't Christianity, wasn't Catholicism, wasn't any of that garbage. It was that the idea that we are all Christs. And I had a conversation this morning as I was sitting down, having the sunrise, I was enjoying sunrise. Roberto, brother of Ricardo, who's hosting me, drinking coffee, we're talking about this. And I said, that is the whole game, everything else is bullshit. And I said, what is Christ? I said, it's the epitome of every character stat, every character virtue exalted. Meaning, you're in a video game, right? And you have compassion at level 100. You have integrity, character, perseverance, heart, understanding, forgiveness, empathy. Every stat is 100%. The purest mirror. Mirroring back to you the potential of who you have to become. And then it's us just getting that journey of unbecoming back to our childlike self. When you look at a child laughing, that's the purest energy, that's the purest spirit, that's pure unconditional love. The whole journey is getting back there, right? And I said, that's the game. The game is the quote, I've never seen the movie, but there's a scene that I've seen where Christ is being crucified. And he turns to God and he says, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do." I said, that is the bar. That is the bar. Is it possible for me to have that level of unconditional love? What is unconditional love? It's not conditional love. I'll love you on the condition that you like me or love me, let alone like me, right? That's conditional, okay? Unconditional. I still have love in my heart for the one who is actively murdering me. My God, what a fucking standard. What a bar. Is that possible in my development, in my spiritual ascension? Can I get to the point where I am the most purest form of unconditional love, that I could still harbor that love within my heart to my most despicable enemy? I said, I don't know. I said, I don't know if that's even fucking possible for myself, but it is possible. It is a virtue. It is a level of the spiritual ascension that is attainable. Can I reach it? I don't know, but I told him, I said, but I think that's the best life lived, is the pursuit of that quest, right? The pursuit of us trying to be our most Christ-like self, which is just all of those virtues exalted, right? And so I said, we're all playing the same fucking game, because what is that? That's enlightenment. What is enlightenment? You achieving authenticity. What is that? You living in complete harmony with who you are, with why you're here, with what you're meant to do, with what you're meant to create and share, with all of the seeds that we're all meant to plant. Because think about it. Who is the ultimate gardener for the quote, life is about planting trees under whose shade you will never sit, right? If you act as the most ultimate mirror, the fucking epitome, the standard, the perfect embodiment of the potential that every person that you ever meet has the potential to ascend to remember, to unbecome, to become that, right? How many seeds can you plant within your life? And then there's another quote that I've thought of in the past, and it says that we're all charged with a number of souls. As in, it's a beautiful food for thought and consideration, that we're all assigned a certain number of people, right? That only we, our gifts, our talents, our uniqueness, the way that I speak and articulate, there's a few people that only I can get through, only I can resonate with, that nobody else can get through to them, cannot be, the mirror that they need, can whisper that food for thought that then, helps them, walks them home. The quote, we're all just walking each other home, that helps them achieve the breakthrough. I believe that we're all charged with a set number, but the game is you don't know how many number that is, but how many could that be at scale, right? Just by the person you decide to embody. Food for thought. Yeah. But do you see and understand the whole idea of not having that plan B? By going all in, by putting all of your energy and your focus and your fire into the task at hand, into the required assignment. It would be magical if you did that. Okay. A sense of urgency comes from a powerful connection to the present. Did you hear that? Do I get to repeat it? A sense of urgency comes from a powerful connection to the present. Tarek, how do you know that? What gives you authority to speak on that? Motherfucker, I had my first fight when I was in Argentina, in Buenos Aires, and my God, comes from a powerful connection to the present. Being in the arena, in a gym, crowded, I don't know, 100 people, and maybe 100, maybe less, 100 or less, okay, but north of 50. And I'm being filmed, because I asked them to film it, it's on my Instagram, and all these people are watching. You don't notice or concern yourself with any of that as, someone is trying to punch your fucking head off. And so, yes, I can completely attest to the truth within this sentiment. A sense of urgency comes from a powerful connection to the present. Yeah, when I'm in the fucking heat of battle, when I, am in the process of unlocking the achievement, step into the arena, and this dude is trying to pummel me, and I'm weighing in 8 kilos under than what I signed up for. I weighed in at 182. I signed up for, 8.8 pounds. 182, my cutoff was 186. It was the lightest that I've ever been. Malnourishment, fucking had no money for food, for protein, for anything. I was stretched as far as I possibly could. And so imagine that, on this trip, I probably rebounded a little bit right now because I'm eating very well, thanks to all the gifts of God's grace. And healing the capacity for me to receive. And so now I'm just, it's such a beautiful journey. But when I was in Argentina, prior to that pattern being recognized, and just doing it all myself and putting it all on my shoulders and bearing the full weight of all of the, cross, I was so malnourished and so faint, and I barely had energy to go to the arena, and I don't speak Spanish, and I'm in there, all of the excuses in the book of my performance for the day, right? But I still gave it my all and proved the truth within this, that create a sense of urgency and desperation on death ground. Yeah, when it's fascinating who you are in the arena, meaning if the fucking choice is I'm gonna get an injury or lose consciousness, or this motherfucker is going to, I am not gonna, not give it my all. And I literally couldn't breathe. And that was why I believe that it ended in a tie. Because if you watch the clips that I put in there, it was incredibly one-sided of a fight. Like when I had him against the ropes, which I had him like 3 or 4 times, he would fucking hold me. He would go and just give me like a fucking bear hug that I literally didn't have the energy to release myself from. And I believe that it was a tie for the instruction that my Muay Thai coach gave me. He said, when a fight is close and you look exhausted, they're gonna not give you the victory, and I could not fake. So he told me, like, if you're injured, no, it's no problem, but living the experience and having no energy and giving my 1000% in those 2-minute rounds, I literally could not breathe, and it showed. Like I literally was so fucking gassed. Despite a physical victory, I did not have the energetic acting victory, to achieve I won in the first place. But it's completely true. Okay, so you get presence from the urgency, and that presence is power. You got it? Okay. Commit. Under pressure, your creativity will flourish. My God, I came up with these ideas of buy one, get one free. Buy 2, get 1 free. Do this and I'll give you a free personal training session. All the people that I could reach out to. Oh, well, what if I search all of the gyms within the vicinity of where I live, and then the people who have posted and tagged that gym location, I have a prospect list. There's endless creativity for outreach, for prospecting, for sales acquisition, for referrals, for retention. You will be the flourishing will be flourished of all of the creativity for you to achieve what's required of you to not die. Okay. So commit. And I would say that when I played the game World of Warcraft, I'd be doing arenas with my brother. I would be hesitant he was playing warrior, I was resto druid. Of course I stayed back, I'm the healer. And he'd be hesitant about going in. We're playing 2s. It's easy. It's only like 2,400 radius. Nothing's garbage. And I would say that commit. Because a warrior runs in, they press charge. And they charge at the opponent. I'm just like, just start. Who cares? Oh no, they get this advantage. We'll figure it the fuck out. But don't be a spectator within your life. Don't be led by fear. Don't be in a state of fucking paralysis analysis. Do you know what I'm saying? Paralysis analysis, yeah. Paralysis by analysis. It's just people who fucking wargame it all the time, right? And then they strategize, but they never step into the arena. They never embody the quote, "Man in the Arena" by Theodore Roosevelt. The credit is owed to the man in the arena, whose face is marred with dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who, if he errs, at least his place will never be with those cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat. The fucking spectators of life. He doesn't say that part. Cowards, right? People who, they see you shining a spotlight on them of who they could have been if they had the courage to try. Do you understand? So when you get projection from other people and they hate you, they hate themselves who they see through you. Got it? That's the importance of the book, The 4 Agreements, by, forget the author, but Don Miguel, I think, Don Miguel, of don't take things personally. Don't take things personally. It has nothing to do with you. People, when they see you and they see all the ugliness, they see the ugliness within them. When they see all the love and beauty and light, they see all of that within them. I've done that as well. I've been on the other end where I see someone filled with so much love and sunshine and light, and then I was like, oh man, that's not me. That's me abandoning those things within me, abandoning myself. You know what I'm saying? Everything that you see within somebody else exists and resides within you. Good and the bad. Got it? Okay. So commit. We'll figure it the fuck out. Book a one-way flight. Oh no, how am I going to pay for this? Who cares? We will figure it out. We'll figure it out. But I'm not going to spend my one life burdened with regret and what if. You know, what life could I have led if I wasn't a pussy? If I actually had the courage to try, to go for it. How the fuck can I look my son or daughter in the eye and say, yeah, give it your all, when I lack the courage and capacity and strength to? What kind of hypocrisy and precedent is that setting towards your own fucking children, where you can't even look at them with pride, but you look at them with fucking shame and regret, and then maybe angerness and bitterness when you see them enacting courage? That's garbage leadership. Got it? So commit. Be proud of your own actions. Be proud of the man that you see in the arena, even if it's a failure, even if it's a tie like I had in my fight. Who gives a fuck? And you know what? Nobody gave a shit with who were watching, who were observing, who when I posted it. It was all, dude, awesome. Great job. Why? Because they're commenting and responding to the courage to try, the courage to pursue. That's it. Nobody gives a fuck about that. That's meaningless, dude. Oh man, I had a good day, a bad day. Like, it's so trivial. Anybody could have a bad day. Anybody could have all of this bullshit. Anybody could, wake up sick. I don't care what the limiting, like for you to lose the victory, to you to lose the battle, but you can still win the fucking war. Do you know what I'm saying? If you just try. And what does that do? It inspires other people to do things that scare them. You know? They don't, and I even play the reverse, the devil's advocate, whatever. When I look at people, I don't give a flying fuck if they won. When it's the other way around, I say, dude, great job, that's awesome. Did you have fun, right? But we don't give ourselves the same grace. I know that I don't. My first thought was, I didn't win. But then I was like, dude, look at what you've done. Look at the man that you became, the man that you were not only a few short months ago. A man who now, think of the protector that you are now for your future woman, for your future children, for your future tribe, community, guild, right? Clan. Like, there's a good quote, life is not about what you get, it's about who you become and what you're able to give now that you've become more. By having this courage to pursue, to become your best self, your most divine, godlike, Christ-like self, what more could you give others? How many more seeds of belief could you plant within others of possibility that will then flourish and take root later, right? That is all from your courage. And then how do you anchor that courage? By having a strong enough why, a why greater than you, so that you can bear any how. Think that makes sense? Okay. Final quote. Always try to lower the other side's sense of urgency. Make your enemies think that they have all the time in the world. When you suddenly appear at their border, they are in a slumbering state. And you will easily overrun them. While you are sharpening your fighting spirit, always do what you can to blunt theirs. This is important for two reasons. I put no. I put fuck no. I didn't put fuck, but I put no. That quote that I just read is exactly what they've done. That's exactly what they've done to the world, to the modern society, is they've blunted the fighting spirit within masculine men. They've dimmed the lights of so many pure souls and crushed them into this depravity. I remember the ball of sunshine that I was prior to getting my last job, and my human resources director reflecting on the fucking sunken, miserable, just soul-crushed version of myself that at time's end, that season of refinement had found me left as. And I wasn't the only one. As in, there was another guy, his name was Kim Long Lee, Chinese. I think, I don't want to get it wrong. Oh my God, he was thank you and full of it was so much energy and love and kindness and respect and all this. And then, dude, he would leave the office in fucking tears from all of the garbage and harassment and abuse that his piece of shit superior would impose on him. All of his horrific character and projection and abuse, verbal abuse, manipulation, all of this toxicity, all of this garbage. And you see, when you're in this environment with all of this fucking poison of all these people who don't have a fraction of character, a fraction of integrity, and yet who have fucking slithered their way into these positions of authority with these made-up titles that don't mean fucking shit the second you walk outside of that building. And then they have this sense of arrogance. And they're just the biggest scum cucks in the fucking world. These demonic creatures, cretins. And who's the casualty? The casualty are those people that are filled with love and filled with light, who at times end they're left as that. Who serpents, they enacted this law to blunt all of these iron. Okay, to blunt all of the iron. It's important. It's not a random word. I'm saying it specifically for my final note. And I said, no, be this kind of man. For as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. I said, that is what it means to be Christ-like. And that should be your goal. Your goal should not be to be going about your day seeing how you can blunt your fucking enemy. It should be, how can I uplift everybody around me? How can I make everybody else better? Why? Because if you make other people better, if you water everyone, if you uplift them, if you compliment them, you will find so much self-love, self-respect. Everything will grow within your beautiful garden. It's that law of reciprocity. If you go around spewing fucking poison and literally like spraying pesticide on everyone, I know those same people, and I know that when they go home to their wife, they don't even their woman doesn't even fucking respect them. Their kids are ashamed of them. Imagine that. Imagine not even being the hero to your fucking children. But you get off on this sense of power and authority over other people. It's the most hollow form of living. And it's people who have no idea the tenets and virtues of what it means to be a leader. So I said, don't be that person. Be the person that uplifts other people. The best employers are the ones that aren't seeking somebody for a lifetime of enslavement. They're seeking somebody that they can elevate. That they're like, dude, let me water this person so much. Let me give them so much belief and confidence within their capacity, their potential, their ability, that they become this version that I learned this from Jordan Peterson. He said, what is love? What is love? When you love someone, you see the version of themselves that they could become. You see their potential. And your duty, responsibility, your opportunity is the best word, is speaking to them so confidently that vision until they believe it possible, attainable, worthy of for themselves. And the beauty about that connection is from your love for them that gifts you sight of the version that they can become, that vision, and you can speak and breathe that life and that confidence into your partner. The beauty of that is they can actualize that vision. Do you understand? That's what we should all be doing. That's what it means to embody unconditional love. That is what we should all be aiming for. Sharpening our team, making everybody better, pushing people outside of their fucking comfort zone, right? But that is the path of discomfort by definition. But that's the path of growth, you know? It's being a mirror for other people to recognize all the inner work that they have to do, you know? And if we can do that together, collectively, right? And be that figure who's holding the lantern for them, who's, my favorite thing, I reflect on it all the time. My favorite thing about God is he never runs ahead of you, never runs ahead of us. He'll wait there with infinite patience. Infinite patience. As you stumble, or as I stumble, as I fall, as I make mistakes, as I go down the wrong path, as I'm doing everything that I can, seeking truth. But then, as soon as you're back in alignment, you're back in flow, right there, ready to help, ready to give you resource, ready, everything. Do you know what I'm saying? We could be that for others. You know what I'm saying? That's the game. Okay. So be that. Or don't. It's all food for thought, food for consideration. You're never alone, you know. Okay. Create a sense of urgency and desperation, the death grab strategy. Yes. And it's interesting because I've reflected on this a lot. And while it's beautiful and fruitful for you to discover the beauty of your resourcefulness, of your creativity, of your drive, of your ambition, all of that, I also think there are seasons of it. I think there are seasons when you unlock that fire and hunger, and I think you find yourself back in alignment and flow where you don't need that urgency. For example, something that I've had to heal while being here in Mexico is they do everything so much slower, that my first thought is I'm wasting so much time. I'm wasting so much time. They waste so much time, okay? And I reflected on it and meditated on it, and I said, why do you feel that way? That you need to be in this, this hurry, this urgency, this emergency that is keeping this fucking cortisol drip on you in the state of fight or flight, you in survival. And then I tied it back to when I was a child, and I said, well, you know, to attain the love and attention of my father, the only way to do that was through achievement, was only through personal achievement and recognition, meaning that you would be able to attain that time, that attention, that, you know, everything, the fucking awareness of your existence by a medal, by a trophy, by a certificate, by a perfect attendance, by a fucking whatever. If you had those buckets, did you have buckets? If you, I don't remember, you would get free Pizza Hut pizza, the personal pan ones. Oh, they were so good. If I came home with one of those, then I would be able to earn the love from my father. I learned and was conditioned that love is conditional based on achievement. I didn't know that love is not something that you have to earn, but it is something that you recognize. You know what I'm saying? And so when on my journey, I believe I've tied a lot of my lack of productivity with me not being worthy of love. So it's like, oh no, I need to achieve, I need to become more, I need to attain a new accolade, I need to have this to be worthy of love. You know what I'm saying? So it's all interesting, it's all food for thought, but it's all a journey and it's all a process, because at the end of the day, we are all gonna make it, but we're also all walking each other home. So that's why I love having these discussions. This is one of my favorite things to do, are these lectures. And it gives you my reflections, where I'm at in my journey of being walked home. And I've committed to that journey, and I know that this December, I will be home. So, yeah. All right, we'll end it there. Have a good day. Talk to you later. Bye.